Hello, my name is Derek Barter and I work for the Department of Adult and Community Education. Today I'm going to talk about the nighttime degree for adults, the BA in Local Studies and the BA in Community Studies. This degree was designed and developed for adult students who are busy with daily lives, with work, with family responsibilities, caring responsibilities, and it was decided by the university that adult students needed a different type of degree. So this modular degree was developed and it runs 2 evenings a week, Tuesday and Wednesday evening. The two streams of the degree are local studies, which has modules from different academic departments including classics, modern history, new Gaeilge and geography, and community studies, which has modules from adult and community education, anthropology, applied social studies, and sociology. This next slide answers some frequently asked questions that we regularly field on telephone or through email from people who are interested in this nighttime degree. So the first question that is often asked is, do I need a leaving cert? So in this case, no, you don't need a leaving cert to take part in these nighttime degrees. Adult students bring a lot of expertise and knowledge with them that in a lot of cases goes unrecognised. But as adult educators, we know that the reserves that people have from raising a family or starting a business or developing a career or caring for family members or caring in the community, they have a whole lot reserve of skills that possibly leaving cert students coming straight from secondary school don't have the time to have built up yet. And so this knowledge is what we try to work with. So adult students are not at a disadvantage when they come into the university. They actually just don't recognise the skills that they already have. Am I too old? Well, this is another very frequently asked question, and in my opinion, no. We have students on this degree who are in their late 20s, right up to people in their 70s, and I think we even have one student who's in her 80s. We have a mixture of people on the course. We have people who left school with leaving cert, people who left school before the leaving cert was even a requirement. So right up to people who've already got degrees and even masters. So no, I don't think you're too old and I don't think you're too long out of education, which is the next question that comes up on this on the frequently asked question slide here. So as I said previously, we have people who've been out of education for 5 years or 10 years or 20 years. It doesn't matter in this degree. The thing that makes this degree different is everybody is voluntarily on the degree and everybody recognises that they haven't left learning behind. They've just been out of formal education, and so they're bringing all of this curiosity with them into the classroom. So am I too long out of education? I don't think so. Are there exams? No. There are no exams in the way people think of exams is university scheduled exams. There are continuous assessment throughout the modules, and I'll talk more about the modules as we get into talking about the structure of the degree, but there are assignments, there's in-class assessments, there's end of module assignments, essays, projects, group projects. So there's a lot of work involved, but there's no sit-down exams the way that people would think about sitting in a big hall with 300 other people and spending 2 or 3 hours answering questions off an exam paper. They don't exist. Will I get study support? Yes, you will. We have a dedicated study support officer in Dr. Ferga Kenny, and Ferga is there on Tuesday and Wednesday evenings. She's also available out of hours for people who can't attend regular office hours. So that's one of the things that makes this degree differently. We cater for unconventional hours and people who can't attend full time. That's probably the only difference between this degree, which is a general arts degree, and a full-time degree. We operate out of hours. Will I be able for it? Well, I'd say let's find out. You'll know early on, but you will get all the support that you need for you to have a good go at this. So let's find out if you'll be able for it. And do I have to fill out the CAO? You do, sort of, but not in the way that people think of completing the CAO for children who are coming from leaving Cert or from secondary school. We don't need that amount of detail. We just need contact details, and there's a section on the CAO application form called a personal statement. That's what we would really like to see you fill out. That's the bit that's more important to us, because everybody who's eligible for this degree, who's over 21 in the year that you're going to start a degree, we invite into an interview, and at that interview we use the personal statement as the place to kick off the conversation, because we just want to make sure that we're the right fit for you and you're the right fit for us. So it's a very informal interview, but with a little bit of background knowledge we can find out a whole lot in the 20 minutes or half an hour that we have to discuss your options on this nighttime degree. So if we look at the structure of the degree in a little more detail, you'll see that the degree is a BA in local studies or a BA in community studies, and it operates on a Tuesday and Wednesday evening in two 12-week blocks called semesters. So the first semester for new students, these contain the only compulsory modules on the degree, and these are the introduction to programs. They start in September of any year and go through until December. So we usually have a 6-week block from September to the end of October into the reading week that happens around the October bank holiday at Halloween. And we come back then at the beginning of November and go through then until middle of December. And that's the first semester out of the way. You'll see in the next slide the timetable for new students, and you'll be able to follow what goes on in that in a little more detail. Then we come back towards the end of January for the beginning of the second semester, and that semester again is 12 weeks of class contact. Here the semester is a little more broken up, because in spring we have the reading week in March, and then we have the Easter holidays. So the 12 weeks of contact, like I said, a little bit more broken up, but starting at the end of January and finishing at the beginning of May sometime. And also then we have a summer school that takes place in June. The summer schools, one for local studies and one for community studies. This is a week-long program from Monday to Friday, and it has 24 hours of class contact, the same as a normal module would. It's worth 5 credits to you, but the credits will make more sense when I get into the next slide about the timetables. So this next slide shows the new student timetable. This one was in operation of autumn 2019, but for new students this first timetable is the same every year. So all the students from both sides, both streams of the degree, come in and are in the same class together. So we have the local study students and the community study students. For this first semester, everybody's in the same group, and it's the introduction to programs. So your first class as new students is the study skills and student support with myself, Derek Barter, and Dr. Fergus Kenny, and that's where you get to meet Fergus. Well, anybody who comes for the interview will meet Fergus and myself at that interview, but you get to know Fergus and myself in that study skills and student support module. You'll see it's Tuesday evening from 6:15. It says 8 p.m. there, but it's closer to 7:45, so 6:15 to 7:45. And in that module, we give people the basic study skills that they need, that they're going to use as they're going through the rest of the degree. So students learn how to research and write essays. They learn how to manage time through timetabling. A big part of it is for people to reflect on who they are as a learner themselves. So we ask people to keep a learning journal essay from the first night, and this forms part of the end of module assessment when you hand in a learning journal assignment in January. So there will be other assignments in the module as we're going along, and that's how continuous assessment works in that particular module. So like I said, we're in from 6:15 to 7:45, and then you have a break from 7:45 to 8:15, and you're in for your second class on a Tuesday evening, which is ICT for Research and Learning with Peter Cochran. So that half an hour break, we get a lot of students who are coming straight from work and wouldn't have had a chance to actually have some refreshment or whatever. It's a way for people actually to mingle as well outside the class for half an hour before they go back into this ICT module with Peter. That module itself is very structured. It's 12 weeks. It helps people who are complete novices with IT to people who've already got maybe are very au fait and very comfortable using IT, but it's in the context of university and how you would use that for university learning. So everybody gets something out of that module, and I think Peter has a very structured way of approaching it as well. It's regular short pieces of homework, and then there's a portfolio that's due in January, which is the end of module assignment. So that's the first evening. That's Tuesday 6:15 to 9:45, and you kind of, if you think of it as a block from 6 to 10, that's probably the best way to think about it. And then on Wednesday, students come into the Introduction to Programs Local Studies. That's your first class on a Wednesday evening with Dennis Cronin. So 6:15 again. And here Dennis introduces people to the skills and the art of the historian, shows people how to interpret sources, where to find credible sources. The whole idea of fake news has been something that historians have been looking at for a long time, and how to interpret sources is very relevant today, but it has been part of the discipline of history for quite a number of years now. So Dennis shows people how to locate sources and how to interpret them. So it could be anything from seeing how a local area might develop through maps into personages in that local area through diaries, newspaper clippings, events, to try and paint a picture of the past that contributes to the knowledge that people are going to have, especially even if you're thinking of that local studies or history is not what you're interested in. It will give you the skills that you could use later on if you want to take a common module in history or even in geography. So that's Dennis's module, Introduction to Programs Local Studies. That finishes at 7:45 again, and then we have a half an hour break and you're back in with Michelle Kinsler, the Introduction to Programs Community Studies. And here Michelle introduces people, gives people a good overview of what you can expect in an introduction to sociology, some information and an introduction to anthropology, which might be quite new to a lot of people. She also brings in lecturers from outside who are working in the community, maybe working with youth groups, and this is useful for people who are interested in the applied social studies, youth and community work. And then as well, she gives people an idea of the philosophy and principles of adult education. So both of those modules have some continuous assessment as they're going along in those 12 weeks, and both have an assignment, an end of module assignment that's due in January. And then when you hand those assignments in January, you have a couple of weeks or a week or so off, and then you come into the next timetable, and at this timetable you join the rest of the students who are continuing students, and their timetable looks more like this. So you'll see this timetable looks a little bit more complicated, but actually if you think of it as a menu and you are choosing from this menu the modules that you want to take, and you can build up to 20 credits in the semester. So in your first timetable, the new student timetable, each of those modules are worth 5 credits to you. So that's 20 credits at the end of that timetable, and now you're going into the second timetable, second semester, and you can choose, you'll see a column there, credits. You can choose mostly 5 credit modules, but there are the odd 10 credit module along the degree as you're going along. So if you're a local study student, you would take most of your modules from the top section of that timetable, and you'll see the LS module codes, and these modules then can be supplemented by common modules, the CM. Those are modules that are in the middle. If you're a community studies student, you would take most of your modules from the CS section down the bottom, and they can be supplemented by common modules that are in that middle section as well. So it just so happens when this timetable was in operation, which was spring 2018, that the common modules came from anthropology and adult education. But in any year, it could be another department or other departments involved in delivering those common modules. Why they're common is because they have some relevance to both sections of the degree. And that's the way that operates. One of the things about this timetable is after you've completed those compulsory modules in the first semester, and that means you have to come in both nights, when you come into this timetable, you can now choose whether you want to take 20 credits, which means coming in both nights and taking 4 5-credit modules, or a 10-credit module and 2 5-credit modules, or whether you just want to take 1 5-credit module. And this really adds to the flexibility of the degree. So when you're in here, you are now in with students who are in their second or third or fourth or fifth or even 6th year of the degree, because you'll find that students on this nighttime degree aren't solely interested in getting through the degree as quickly as possible. It's a place for people to really enjoy learning and a place for discussion, and they are in a space where they're with like-minded people who are interested in either community work or social justice, or interested in, and have always had a passion for history or geography. And this is a space where they can actually interact and discuss and have very informed discussions with experts in the field. So each of the lecturers are, they also really enjoy this way of teaching because it's so interactive. The groups are small. We usually have between 20 and 25 people in a class, which means that you can have a really good discussion. So if you don't think of these classes as a traditional lecture where somebody just speaks for 50 minutes and you take notes, they're very interactive. Each lecturer has their own way of delivering, but to speak for an hour and a half would be well, incredibly difficult, but also quite boring, I think, for a lot of people. And that's why the interaction between the lecturers and the students makes for a very engaged atmosphere and environment for learning. And that timetable then, this is the way that the timetable looks for you until you for the rest of the degree. So these modules that were delivered in spring of 2018, most of those wouldn't come up again until 2022 or into 2023. So, as I pointed out in the previous slide, most of the modules are 5-credit modules, and this impacts the fee structure. So people are paying based on those 5-credit modules, and it's €382 for a 5-credit module. So if you're taking 20 credits in a semester, it works out at €1,528 for 20 credits. Now, you don't have to pay that in total right at the beginning. What you can do is talk to the fees office, and the fees office will put a payment plan in place for you. So as long as you're registered, as soon as you've registered with the university for this degree, you can then talk to the fees office and they will put that plan in place for you. There's also a thing called RPL, and I'm going to talk about that in the next slide. And there are some, I think it's up to 20% of tax can be claimed back in respect of fees. So it's something that can help people to manage the cost. There are also now a number of bursaries. So there's the Department of Education 1916 bursary, and there's the University Scholarship, which are two ways that people could actually fund this degree. They're both competitive, but it's no harm in putting an application in. And there's also the Student Assistance Fund, but we can talk about that when you're a registered student. So this next slide then talks about recognition of accredited prior learning. A lot of adult students will have taken courses over the years. They might have forgotten about it. It's a certificate in the bottom of a drawer or something like that, and they don't think, oh, sure, I'll never do anything with that. But it's worth your while to think about looking for it, digging it out, and finding out what it actually is, because we encourage people to use learning that they've already had accreditation for. If it's at all equivalent to the learning that goes on in this degree, we're very happy to look into that with you. What you do is you make an application through registry for RPL, and you can bring in a maximum of RPL credits, which would be 60 credits off this degree. That's 1/3 of the degree. The certification has to be at level 6 on the qualification framework, so level 6 or upwards up to level 10, and then that will be looked at by a board within the university, and they will give you the assessment as to how many credits you're entitled to or which modules you would be exempt from. So we're coming to the end of this presentation. The way into this degree is through the CAO, and if you make an application through the CAO, you insert the course code MH803. You don't need to worry about which stream of the degree you're going into. MH803 will bring you into the degree, and it's in the second semester that you actually register for local studies or community studies. So MH803 will bring you in as a new student. If you want, like I said before, we're not looking for an onerous amount of detail for in the application. It's really the first section and then the personal statement. But if anybody wants to know more about that, you can contact Kay, and Kay is the other person involved in coordinating this degree on behalf of those 8 departments involved, and that's k.loughlin@mu.ie, or myself, Derek, at derek.barter@mu.ie, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you have through email about the degree, and we can also send you out the easy guide to the CAO MH803. So don't be afraid to contact us. We'd be happy to hear from you. And just want to let you know about some other part-time courses that you might be interested in if you think the nighttime degree is maybe a step too far at this stage. But I would encourage people, think about the degree, don't think it's too much yet. Come in and meet us for the interview, and we can look at other options if you think that that's not quite right for you yet. But it's good to talk to people and let them know what other options are out there. And here's some other mostly 100-hour courses. All of these carry credits, so if you decide to take one of the certificate courses, those credits can be used off the degree as recognition of prior learning at a later date. So I just want to say thanks for your time. We'd be very happy to hear from you. I've given you my email address and Kay's email address, and I just want to wish you luck and say thanks very much for your time. Thank you.